any and all candidates, groups, and voters to use our platform to share their views on the election and debate the issues. We as a company are neutral, and we have not and will not use our products in a way that attempts to influence how people vote. The first thing about this statement is that it's technically an impossible commitment for Facebook to make. The company has long switched from user-curated news feeds where ordinary people choose what information they come into contact with to algorithmic model in which Facebook controls what content gets pushed to its users and when. If Facebook's algorithms think a news story is interesting to you, they'll make sure you see it. Now, by definition, a service that influences what information you see also influences how you vote. But to give Facebook the benefit of the doubt and assume their spokesman was merely trying to explain that the social network's algorithms don't privilege some presidential candidates above others. Even though, now a lot of this one I'm reading now is from Breitbart. Now, Breitbart, as we'll get into later in this, has had their own problems. And Breitbart, by all means, is pro-Trump, and they love Trump. And there's the whole, reporter from Breitbart getting her arm yanked by Trump's campaign staff, head of his campaign staff, in that whole trial. And this week, in him, a Florida court deciding he can't get charged with any charges of assault or anything. So Breitbart, very, very pro-Trump. So that's why this is going to be skewed a little bit, and that's why if you hear it that way, it is. So Mark Zuckerberg has spent the last few months taking a string of outlandishly progressive positions that are polar opposite of Donald Trump's. He effectively has banned employees from criticizing Black Trump lives, or from criticizing Black Lives Matters. And he's actually told his employees to go out of their way to support the movement. He praised Germany's immigration policies, urging the U.S. to follow their lead. And, of course, he criticized Donald Trump's policies directly. We talked about that earlier. He also approved political censorship on Facebook. He personally assured German Chancellor Angela Merkel that he would crack down on anti-immigration sentiment on the platform. And Facebook launched a well-funded Europe-wide campaign against anti-immigration hate speech. Zuckerberg and Facebook COO Sheryl Sandberg have since made regular trips to Germany. So, in other words, Facebook is already intervening in European politics, and why should we believe they won't do the same with the U.S. election coming up, particularly when Donald Trump threatens Silicon Valley and their big, all-important H-1B immigration visas. Now, it would not be the first. Now, Facebook wouldn't be the first group to do this. As we mentioned earlier, Breitbart Tech revealed in February, Twitter deliberately manipulates its algorithm to favor a trusted whitelist of news sources while pushing sources of a disfavored blacklist down users' search results. So it's hard to imagine that Facebook, whose CEO's rabid progressivism easily matches that of Twitter's Jack Dorsey, won't one day go down the same route. Now, it's really, now, to jump more into what they're talking about with Twitter, Twitter has a secret whitelist and a blacklist. The whitelists are, now this isn't due to this person violated this or that or, credibility or any of that. It's just the people who work for Twitter say, we like this person because of what they say. We don't like this person because of what they say. So they whitelist the ones that say stuff that they agree with. They blacklist the other ones. Now, what that has to do with is the whitelist when you search for specific topics. So if you want to look up Donald Trump news, you're more likely to find negative stuff about him on Twitter because the people writing negative things about him are whitelisted. The people writing the good things and supporting him are blacklisted. They even will take away, they've done this to the person who writes for Breitbart Tech they took away his verification on Twitter, his check mark, just stating, and they gave some reasons about violating terms of usage, but, I mean, he's a very outspoken Trump supporter, and he argues with feminists and Black Lives Matters. So that is the whole story with that. My thoughts are just that, look, Facebook doesn't have to be fair. I mean, we all see the media. Every media company leans a certain way, and even in the way that they lean, if they're on the left, they can say, oh, we don't like Bernie Sanders, or we do like Bernie Sanders, or we don't like Hillary, or we do like Hillary. So they can play favorites even in that range. We see it with Fox News, too. So they don't owe, an unfiltered thing. But when Facebook wants to be kind of like this news agency and they want to provide all this other stuff and become this big media company, that's when I do think then you have to be more fair and honest. I mean, ethically you do. I mean, ethically and morally, yes. But legally, they don't have any reason to. They can do whatever they want as long as they're in the means of the law and the First Amendment. In this day and age, especially right now, you can go on, and a while back ago there was the guy who ran up on stage at the Trump rally and tried to interrupt it and grab Trump's leg or whatever, and he was interviewed, and when they interviewed him, he said that he just felt compelled that he needed to do something to stop the hate speech coming from Donald Trump and interrupt that rally. He felt like he was the one who had to do something. And that's something you see so much of in this PC day and age, of people being like, oh, well, I need to stop this from happening. People feeling like they have to be the hero. They have this Batman in them, this vigilante in them that has to stand up and stop what they feel like is a wrong that's taking place, even if it doesn't align with what other people agree with, or other people do agree with it, but to them it's wrong. So therefore, it shouldn't be even exist. Like, Donald Trump shouldn't exist, because even though he's got this huge support of people, he doesn't agree with the establishment and the progressive movement, and even, the Republican movement, and the Republicans trying to do everything they can to stop him. Even though, as of right now, most of the people on the Republican side agree with what he has to say. So, it's just that vigilantiness is what bothers me the most in this day and age, of people feeling like they have to stand up for the oppressed or to stop the wrongs, when the person that's wrong is only wrong to them and their opinion and their way of life. Donald Trump's not out saying we need to kill people. And I think even if the impossible happened and Trump did get elected, and I'm not a Trump supporter at all. I'm not a Trump supporter, I'm not a Cruz supporter, I'm not a Clinton supporter, and I'm not a Sanders supporter. I'm a libertarian, and for my money, I'm going to vote Gary Johnson for president. Do I think Johnson's going to win? No, but he's the guy I support because he's the one who most aligns with my views. So if I wanted to, I could go out and just fight with Sanders supporters all the time and think, well, he's for bigger government, and that's what's ruining this country, and I need to stop it because Sanders is wrong and he's terrible, and he doesn't need to be heard. He doesn't need to be heard. His hate speech doesn't need to be heard. And I would be wrong, because just because he doesn't go with what I believe doesn't mean he doesn't need to be heard. And that's what you see so much from the left, from the people who say they are the open-minded and loving people. They're the ones that constantly feel like they need to shut people down and shut down opinions that are differentiate from what they believe. And even if you go on Gizmodo, which is owned by Gawker, which is a huge left-leaning site, and you read the comments, and people do now. Most of the comments were in favor of, "Hey, that's wrong. If Facebook shouldn't do this to Trump." But people also are on there saying, "Well, yeah, but Facebook should also, anyone that disagrees with climate change, then that should be deleted off Facebook." or anyone that disagrees with, the people like in North Carolina that don't agree with letting people that are transgendered or think they are transgendered using bathrooms that they feel better suits who they are. That hate speech needs to be shut down. That's what Nazi Germany was. Not what Trump's saying, but the shutting down people's ideas and deleting their views and what they say because you think it's hate speech. You're the one who's closer to Trump or to Hitler than Trump ever was. And if you disagree with me, you're worse than Hitler, not Trump. You are. All right. If you have anything you would like to add or disagree with, write me on Twitter at Sir Douglas Case, or you can comment it on the SoundCloud page. I'd love to get more people's opinion. You can even email the show, dcase44 at comcast.net. Feel free to get into it. Let's jump into some baseball here. The Chicago Cubs off to a hot start. How hot of a start and how good is their offense? Well, let's see. Through their first 9 games of the season, their run differential was plus 43. Now that is tied for second all-time since 1900 with the 1905 Giants. And those two teams just second behind the 1999 Cleveland Indians, who were plus 44. The St. Louis Cardinals, plus 24. They're in second place this season, and no one else is even in the 20s. So the Cubs off to a hot start. The Nationals too, though. Coming into today, Saturday, April 16th, they had the best record in baseball. I think we're heading on a collision course for the Nationals taking on the Cubs in the National League Championship. Now, that's not to say that injuries won't happen. We've already seen Kyle Schwarber go down for the Cubs, but I think those two teams are so good. The Pirates I think are good, but I don't think they're on the same level as the Cubs. And then over in the Nationals, I don't think the Mets pitching staff could be one of the best ever, but their offense is so dreadful. I think that will be their undoing, is that offense. And I said it, I think I ended up having the Mets beating, I think I had the Mets beating the Cubs to go to the World Series in my crap baseball preseason analysis. I had the Rangers winning the World Series, by the way. But I think those two teams are head and shoulders so far the best going as of right now. But it is a long season. Other news this week, Pablo Sandoval might be the first player to ever go on the DL for being fat and really expensive and not playing because he didn't earn his spot. It didn't say that. Supposedly he had some weird soldier surgery, and he's going to see Dr. James Andrews this week. I don't believe it. He's in the second year of a terrible contract the Red Sox signed, and it's going to take an act of God to get someone to pick up that contract because he's in terrible shape. He's not what he once was, and he shows no desire to want to get in shape. The story came out this week from Pablo Sandoval's personal trainer that they would basically hide Pablo Sandoval during the off season until he got to camp because he was just so fat and he didn't take care of himself. And the Giants would go out of their way to tell the hotels they were staying at to not let this man, or not send this man room service, not answer the phone when he called for room service so they couldn't take him food. I hope that we don't see another thing of, like this guy just going away and we don't see him anymore and the Red Sox just have to eat that contract. I mean, I'm a Yankees fan, but even I feel bad for the Red Sox. I mean, it's a terrible deal. I mean, they got into this bidding war with the Giants, and the Giants ended up losing that, and now they have to be feeling so thankful for that. So we'll monitor that, and we'll see what happens with the whole James Andrews things. We'll see if they're